Good morning, everybody. Delighted you could join us. When I chatted with Cyrus about putting this little presentation together, I thought, well, I can do this in 15 or 20 minutes. We'll take a few questions and call it a day. And I started writing notes and putting my thoughts together a couple of weeks ago, and I have 10 pages of information in front of me. So I'll try to stick to our time as closely as possible. I want to give first a shout out to all the healthcare providers that are on the front line doing the hard work. God bless you. Keep up the good work and continue on with your good deeds. So I have opened every workshop with this quote from Trungpa Rinpoche. A true spiritual path is arduous and demanding. Those with doubts should not embark. If you have not started, it's best not to begin. But if you have begun, it's best to finish. So those of us that have been blessed with time due to COVID-19, this is really the chance of a lifetime to recalibrate our life. And that means different things to different people. And not everybody has been blessed with time, because a lot of folks out there have kids in school, you're working, homeschooling, and it's a chore. Others of us do have this blessing, and retreats are one way to really help quiet our mind so we can hear that small, still voice within and see what that recalibration looks like. So the agenda today, and you don't need to write this down because we're going to go through this step by step. First, I'll just give you an hour by hour breakdown of what a one-day retreat would look like. Then how to schedule a very simple yoga stretching routine. How to schedule a meditation session or sessions during the day. We'll chat briefly about journaling. I'll mention a few books that are really great for contemplation during self-retreats. And I'll have a couple of comments about some retreat centers. And let me be very clear from the beginning, I have worked over 48 years with every imaginable retreat schedule possible. Everything from a 2-day weekender up to 6 weeks, which is the longest one I personally have been on. It's just an insane number over 48 years, about 150 different retreats. And there was a period from the late 70s, 1980-ish through 2005, about a 25-year span that was really intense for me, a very heavy travel schedule. So when we put together and think about doing a retreat for ourselves, you have two options. Number one, you can create your own schedule. Or number two, you can follow the calendar of different wisdom traditions if you have a faith tradition that you're familiar with and would like to stick with. Now, having said that, even within specific wisdom traditions, depending upon what you're going to be following, for example, a Benedictine order retreat in the Catholic tradition would be much different from, say, the Trappist order. And within the Buddhist lineage, the Vipassana mindfulness retreat would be much different from a Zen Buddhist retreat. Now, the common thread that is woven amongst all these different traditions is silence. So no matter what tradition you're going to be in, or if you create one yourself, silence is important. If you decide to carry this out further and go for more than a day and actually take off and go to a retreat center or monastery, longer is better. Usually it's a day up to wherever you're getting to. It's a day back, so you have 2 days of travel. Takes you a couple of days to kind of unwind and get into the routine of things. So I would recommend a week's time minimum. So if you have a pencil, piece of paper handy, here's a calendar, here's a schedule for this 1 day retreat. Up and at 'em at 5 o'clock in the morning. So from 5 until 6, exercise, cardio work. 6 until 6:30, coffee or tea. 6:30 to 7:30, shower and breakfast. 7:30 to 9 o'clock. This is a 90-minute stretch. Be a combination of yoga, stretching, breathing practices, and meditation. And we'll talk about each of these in a few minutes. 9 until 9:45, journaling. 10 until 10:45, reading and contemplation. 10:45 to 1:15, fix lunch, have lunch, and a nice nap. 1:30 to 3:30, getting outside, go to a park for reading and contemplation. 3:45 to 4:30, breathing practices and meditation. 4:30 until 5, tea time. 5 until 6:30, cook dinner, have a nice dinner. 6:30 until bedtime, reading and contemplation. So let's talk about this hour by hour. From 5 until 6, cardio. I recommend get outside, walk, run, bike, but get the cardio work in. So you're back home at 6 until 6:30, coffee or tea time. 6:30 to 7:30, once again, shower and breakfast. Now the 7:30 to 9 o'clock, it's a 3-part stretch of time. So for the first half hour, work in just some basic hatha yoga stretches to get the body flexible, get the blood circulating, get stretched out for your meditation. And I'm assuming that most of you have a layman's working knowledge of yoga postures, and it doesn't have to be a full routine, just 4 simple types of movements. Many of you guys have heard this before. Here we go. Forward bend, anything forward bending, like a full head to knee position where you're working the hamstrings in the back. So you have a forward bend, counter that with a backward arch. Remember, every time you bend forward, you counter backward. Conversely, every time you bend back in a back arch, counter it forward. Then a twisting posture that works you viscerally. And finally, anything inverted, where you're upside down. Anything from a simple bridge position to a half shoulder stand, full shoulder stand possibly, headstand if you're more advanced. So this little routine should take about a half hour. Just keep it simple. Don't make it complicated. The breathing is next. And if you were with us a couple of weeks ago, I recommended to do a count of inhaling to a count of 4, exhaling to a count of 8, using the full yoga complete breath. also known as soft belly breathing, easy belly. And you guys will check the YouTube channel at ISH. Uh, the session I did a couple of weeks ago has a fairly, it's got a good explanation of how to do the complete breath. But remember, the fastest way to gain control of the mind is through the breath. And the key to this is the exhale should be twice as long as the in-breath. So a good basic count to begin with, again, would be inhaling to a count of 4, exhaling to a count of 8. Then for the meditation, so the breathing, let's jump in here once again. I'm sorry, it's going to be about 15 minutes of breathing. So we have 20, 30 minutes of movement, 15 minutes of breathing. That leaves us about 30 or 40 minutes for meditation. So begin the meditation with the blessing of loving kindness. And once again, this is one that you articulate, you say it, you speak it aloud. And if you refer back once again to the YouTube channel, I have the complete metta practice there. But let me go through one verse for you. May I be happy. May I be. May no harm come to me. May no problems come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May I always meet with success. May I have the wisdom, courage, and understanding to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties in life. And it has 6 verses to it. So you bless yourself, and you bless your family and all of your family members. You bless your teachers, your wisdom teachers that bring you great strength and wisdom. You bless your friends, you bless your enemies, and you bless all sentient beings. So may all sentient beings, seen and unseen, born and to be born, be happy, be peaceful, and be free from suffering. May no harm come to them. May no problems come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May they always meet with success. May they have the wisdom, courage, and understanding to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties in life. Okay, you have your body ready, your breath is quiet, your heart is open. So you go through all of these steps just to prepare for meditation. And once again, you have a choice in your meditation practice, either a guided visualization that opens the heart center, concentration technique that quiets the mind, and follow whatever wisdom tradition you're comfortable with. The point of all of the meditation practices, remember, it all boils down to quieting the mind so we can hear that small, still voice within. And all meditation is simply about listening to the message of the heart. So now we're up to 9 o'clock from Lin Yutang, Chinese philosopher, The Importance of Living, published in the 1930s. Culture is essentially a product of leisure. The art of culture is therefore the art of loafing. From the Chinese point of view, the man who is wisely idle is the most cultured man or woman. Those who are wise will not be busy. Those who are busy cannot be wise. The wisest man is therefore he who loafs most gracefully. So we're in a day of loafing, if you will. Okay, so the journaling, um, get a book, a journaling book, and make it a nice book rather than just a spiral loose leaf notebook. So here's one that I kept 40 years ago on a 6-week retreat, Lama Foundation, back around 1980. And in this journal, you'll put any poems you may write, describe your meditations, any sketches you would like to include, and do it in 3 different ways. So the first entry lists everything that keeps you from experiencing the living spirit, things that bring you down. The second entry lists everything that reminds you of the living spirit. And the third entry, describe your meditations. So I picked up this book. I was putting my notes together for this presentation, and I ran across this. I haven't looked at it in years, and I thought, wow, what great pearls of wisdom are in here that I can share with folks on Thursday. And I just, now, mind you, this is the end of it's a 6-week retreat. I had 1 week at Christ in the Desert Monastery in New Mexico. That was a Benedictine retreat. Then I went to Lama Foundation where I was teaching with Ram Dass for a 30-day retreat. And I flipped this open and I'll read one passage to you. I thought this is really going to be great. I have something I can actually share with them that I experienced over the 6-week period. And I opened it randomly and it just opened automatically to the last entry, the end of July. I am really, really, really ready to get back to Houston. It's after 6 weeks of being in seclusion. Um, Reading and contemplation. So these would be books that connect with you. So again, from Lin Yu Tang on books and reading. Reading books in one's youth is like looking at the moon through a crevice. Reading books in middle age is like looking at the moon in one's courtyard. Reading books in old age is like looking at the moon on an open terrace. This is because the depth of benefits of reading varies in proportion to the depth of one's own experience. So a few that obviously you can connect with, I'll just mention a few. Start with the Holy Bible. Those of you, the Christian faith. The Gospel of Ramakrishna. This is an abridged edition, 400 pages. I worked for 2 years. My meditation practice went through about 200 pages on this book. Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching. Can you all see this? You good? There are several romantic stories about how this was actually crafted. Dates back to about 400 BC. And one very great story is Lao Tzu was retiring as a head librarian at the library in Peking, and he was walking back to his home province and literally wandering from province to province. And he got to his last home province, and the border guard said, "You have to pay a little toll to get home, my friend." And he said, pauper, I'm a philosopher and a spiritualist, and I have no money to pay you. I'm sorry. They said, fine, go sit under the tree and write down everything you've learned in this lifetime. So he crafted the Tao Te Ching. It's 81 chapters, 81 verses. And just sharing with you one chapter. This is chapter 11. 30 spokes share the wheel's hub. It is the center hole that makes it useful. Shape clay into a vessel. It is the space within that makes it useful. Cut doors and windows in a room. It is the space within that makes it useful. Therefore, profit comes from what is there. Usefulness comes from what is not there. Next, The Art of Worldly Wisdom by Balthazar Gracian. He was a Benedictine scholar. This was written about 300 years ago, and he wrote 300 aphorisms. And I'll share with you one. This is aphorism number 81. Renew your brilliance. It is the privilege of the phoenix. Excellent grows old, and so does fame. Custom wears down our admiration, and a mediocre novelty can conquer the greatest eminence in its old age. So be reborn in courage, be reborn in intellect, and be reborn in happiness and in all else. Dare to renew your brilliance, dawning many times like the sun, only changing your surroundings. Withhold it and make people miss it, renew it and make them applaud. Another option would be the Quran. Finally, I'd recommend the Third Chinese Patriarch of Zen. It's a little 8-page booklet by Sen Ming. Ramdas went to the desert in Arizona many years ago and it was a 30-day retreat in his Volkswagen microbus. The only reading he took for a month was this 8-page pamphlet. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Like the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. Okay, then from 10:45 to 1:15, prepping lunch, eating, and napping. 1:30 to 3:30, back outside, go to a park, read, journal. 3:45 to 4:30, breathing and meditation. 4:30 to 5 o'clock, tea time. 5 to 6:30, cook, have a leisurely dinner. 6:30 until bedtime, reading. So a couple of places of where to go, and I mentioned these a couple of weeks ago, but they are really my favorite places on the planet. Christ in the Desert Monastery, northern New Mexico. It's a Benedictine order. I'm not Catholic, but I love going there. I love it for several reasons. I love the beauty of it. It's known really for two things. Said to be one of the most beautiful monasteries in the country. And it's also the most remote monastery in the continental United States. So it's between Abiquiu and Chama, New Mexico. So I love the beauty, I love the architecture, the silence, the music, the vibes, the schedule, and the kind of people you connect with. It is in silence, but there is a work period during the day for a couple hours where you can actually talk with the monks. And one connection I made over almost 50 years is my very first visit, my job was to clean the guest master's cell. And the guest master at the time was John Weber, who had been at the monastery for about 10 years. He was a graduate of Yale, joined Mount Savior Monastery in New York within a week of graduation. After a few years, ended up in New Mexico. So monk for 38 years, and in his late 50s, disrobed, went back to Yale to graduate school, spent his older years writing books and editing books in the Yale Religious Studies Department. Upaya Zen Center is right up the road from where we are here in Santa Fe. They have great week-long retreats, weekend retreats, and it is a Zen Buddhist monastery, but they do have great programs with other speakers outside of that lineage. And that's Upaya, that's Upaya, Upaya Zen Center. So you can pull those two up. They both have great websites. So I wanted this to be an interactive gig. So I believe some of you guys may have sent Cyrus some questions, or if you have any questions.
Lex, few people have asked what the title of that 8-page brochure that Ram Dass took out to as his only reading.
Yeah, let me hold it up. Can you see that?
No, hold it a little higher, or tilt your.
No, we can't see it. You gotta hold it up in front of your face.
No? It's called Sin Sin Ming. It's HSIN. HSIN. Ming, MING. Verses on the Faith Mind. But the title of it is Sin Sin Ming.
Verses on the Faith Mind?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And just so everyone knows, if we haven't said it, we're recording this, so we'll make the video available to review the schedule and everything else Lex has shared. Are there any questions maybe for things that weren't covered or could be elaborated upon?
Yeah, hi, Lex. Elizabeth here.
Hey.
Hey. Is there any difference if you want to do this a solo retreat at home? Were there any things that would change or be added?
Well, what I laid out is a good home routine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, just find a good quiet space. Sure, you have a good yoga room where you are?
We do.
Good. And don't forget the outside time.
Oh no, I have a golden doodle that gives me outside time twice a day.
Nice, nice. Well, you're looking good, so you're doing something right. I don't know what it is, but
Sir, you too.
getting out of New York City was the first step, I bet, right?
Oh man, you are so right.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah. Hi, Lex. Thank
Hey.
you so much for doing this. This is maybe off topic and maybe I can email you, but would you consider doing any online courses for your yoga teachers?
Colleen will talk about it.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Well, I considered it. I really focus on these trainings that run 7-8 days, and the days are long. So online for those is really not an option. But it is a new world, and I've done 2 things here in the last 2 weeks. This is all new to me because for decades, my feeling on online yoga teaching. I've not been a fan, but this has been fun. So I've enjoyed these. Draws a lot more people, and people can do this in the comfort of their homes. So let me give everybody my go-to number since we're running close to the time limit here. If you have questions, absolutely call Uncle Lex, 800 524 6674. It's on my website. Many may have it, some of you may not. Any other questions? We can go on here for a few more minutes.
One
Yes,
good
hi, Lex.
question.
This
Hold
is
on.
Tessa Anderson.
Hold on.
Hello?
I want to get to a question that was asked several minutes ago. Any suggestion on ways a 50-ish single mom of young children might pull this schedule off? Lex, any thoughts?
I hear you. This is going to be difficult because I mentioned my first comment was not everybody has a luxury of time with the COVID-19 because some people are just slammed at home with kids and schooling and keeping it all together. So let me pontificate on it. And who is it that asked that?
Tamara Thrasher Kateni.
Tamara, be sure you call me. Let me think about it and give me a call and we'll chat.
Any other questions? And please just share them in the chat if you can. It'd be easier that way than having people jump in.
I just wanted to ask a question. I'm sorry. I'll go on to the chat.
Well, now you're with us. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm just trying to figure this out. I was just wondering about whether you do any, would you consider doing any lessons online, like this on Zoom? Because I'm in Houston. I attended, your class at Rice University. That was many years ago. I'll never forget that. I enjoyed it so much. And I've been looking for you, and then I realized you were in Santa Fe. I go to Santa Fe also every now and then, but I really wanted to see, I live in Houston, if there's a way of, were you considering doing any classes online this way, or?
Well, what do you mean classes? You mean workshops or meditation gigs or?
Yeah, yeah, workshops. Yeah, like every now and then, you gave this workshop at Rice many years ago when you were in Houston. Just like, a week at a time or a few lessons at a time of, some type of workshop, I think.
Yeah, these have been fun the last couple of weeks, so there'll be more forthcoming. I just have to be creative and come up with something. And so, yes, to answer your question, yes, there will be. You're on the mail list, the email list, so you'll get notification of it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that
You're
would be
welcome.
great. Thank you.
Alex, somebody else asked for the list of books. I'm thinking maybe you and I could put together just a little document summarizing some of this stuff.
Put it online?
Yeah, and send it out to them.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you. I have to go. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Cyrus.
I'm looking if there's another pertinent question. Well, I guess that'll do it. Thanks everybody for joining.
Good.
And we'll send
close it with a little blessing.
What? Yeah, go ahead.
Didn't even make it through 2 weeks without breaking down in tears. So I think I'm feeling a little different today. May all the beings who joined us through Zoom this morning be happy, peaceful, and free from suffering. May you be happy. May you be full of pure, unconditional love. I love all of you guys. Thanks for taking the time to join in. Stay safe. Stay strong. Stay well. And we'll chat soon. Peace.